week's greatest car stereo sale ever. Crazy Eddie, his prices are insane.
If you lived in the New York tri-state area during the 1970s or 80s, that commercial was everywhere. Crazy Eddie was the king of consumer electronics. VCRs, boomboxes, color TVs, they sold it all at rock-bottom prices. Wall Street loved them. Investors threw millions at them. But behind the neon signs and the screaming TV commercials lay one of the most calculated, multi-layered financial frauds in American history. And the craziest part? The prices weren't insane. The accounting was. Crazy Eddie, founded by Eddie Antar, didn't start out trying to trick Wall Street. In the 1970s, it was just a private family business. And back then, their goal was simple: evade taxes. They did this through a classic retail trick called cash skimming. Every single day, a massive chunk of cash walked through the doors. Instead of putting that cash into the register and reporting it to the government, Eddie and his crew literally stuffed it into their pockets. They pocketed the sales tax they collected from customers. They pocketed the profit. They used this untaxed cash pile to pay their store managers under the table. By paying employees off the books, the company officially looked like it had very low labor costs, which kept their reported expenses down. It was highly illegal, but it was small-time fraud. By 1980, Eddie and his cousin, Sammy Antar, the company's future CFO, realized something mind-blowing. If you hide $1 from the IRS, you save 30 or 40 cents in taxes. But if you report that same dollar as a public company on Wall Street, investors will multiply it by the stock's price-to-earnings ratio. That $1 of profit suddenly makes your company worth $15 or $20 more on paper. So, they decided to take Crazy Eddie public. But how do you show massive business growth when you've been hiding your profits for a decade? Simple. You fake a miraculous comeback. From 1980 to 1984, the Antars gradually stopped skimming cash. They started putting the cash back into the registers. To the outside world, Crazy Eddie's revenue looked like it was exploding organically. In reality, they were just reporting the money they had always been making. They called it going legit, but it was actually the launchpad for a massive securities fraud. In 1984, Crazy Eddie went public. The pressure was on. To keep the stock price soaring, they had to show higher profits quarter after quarter. This is where the accounting trickery turned into pure performance art. The Antars relied on three primary mechanics to manipulate their books. First up, the inventory upgrade. In retail, your inventory is an asset. The more inventory you have unsold in your warehouses, the higher your company's theoretical value. The Antars began writing down fake inventory on their spreadsheets. They created millions of dollars worth of merchandise out of thin air. But what happens when the external auditors come to the warehouse to physically count the boxes? The Antars were masters of distraction. Sammy Antar later admitted that they used to stack empty boxes deep inside the warehouse layout. They would intentionally stall the audit process for weeks until the auditors were stressed and rushed for time. Then, a friendly Crazy Eddie employee would volunteer to climb the high shelves and shout down the inventory numbers to the tired auditor waiting below. The auditor, desperate to finish, just wrote down whatever number they were told. If one store was short on inventory, they would physically load boxes onto trucks, drive them to a second store overnight, and let the auditors count the exact same merchandise twice. The second mechanic was the Panama pump. When fake inventory wasn't enough to boost revenue, they needed real cash to show up on the books. They took the millions of dollars they had skimmed and hidden away in secret Israeli bank accounts during the 1970s. They routed that money through shell companies in Panama and wired it right back into Crazy Eddie's U.S. bank accounts. They recorded these incoming wire transfers as fake, high-volume retail sales. They were literally laundering their own old cash to make their current stores look hyper-profitable. The third mechanic was vendor manipulation. They forged debit memos, claiming that suppliers owed them money for returned goods or promotional discounts. This lowered their official accounts payable, making it look like the company owed far less money to vendors than it actually did. It was a financial house of cards, but it worked beautifully for 3 years. The stock price skyrocketed. The Antar family systematically sold off their own shares during the hype, pocketing an estimated $90 million of clean, legal investor cash before the music stopped. But a business built on fake inventory can only run for so long. In 1987, a group of outside investors launched a hostile takeover and bought the company. When the new management walked into the warehouses to take control, they uncovered the devastating truth. $45 million in reported inventory simply did not exist. The system collapsed instantly. Crazy Eddie filed for bankruptcy, and the stores were liquidated. Eddie Antar fled the country under a fake passport, sparking a worldwide manhunt before being caught in Israel and sent to federal prison. He served roughly 7 years in federal prison. His cousin Sammy cooperated with the government, avoiding prison to later become a prominent anti-fraud speaker. Eddie Antar died in 2016. Crazy Eddie didn't invent white-collar crime, but they elevated it to a science. They proved that a loud television commercial and a charismatic smile could blind investors, regulators, and auditors to a multi-million-dollar black hole on a balance sheet.
Crazy Eddie will not be undersold, and that's the Crazy Eddie guarantee. So get a car stereo. Get anything and everything in car stereo. Get it now during Crazy Eddie's greatest car stereo sale ever. Crazy Eddie, his prices are insane.
If you enjoyed this little dive into true crime history, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.